Religion in Sweden, separation of church and state. The Church of Sweden is Evangelical Lutheran and has its secretariat in Uppsala, a city that has been the center of the Swedish Church since the Middle Ages. The Church of Sweden has been separated from the state since 2000, which means that Sweden no longer has an official state church. While most countries in the world have no official religion, Sweden is in fact the only Nordic country without a state church, like Norway, Denmark, Iceland, and Finland have all retained theirs. Around 58% of the Swedish population are members of the Church of Sweden. It is only since 2000 that Swedes don't automatically become a member at birth, and record numbers of Swedes have left the church in recent years. A continued decline in membership is predicted as young Swedes fail to take the place of older members. Surveys also indicate that a declining number of Swedes attend any religious services regularly. The ritual role of religion. The presence of religion and the church in many Swedes' lives is most visible when traditional rituals or ceremonies are performed. Chief among these are christenings, marriages, and funerals. The celebration of powerful Swedish cultural traditions such as Lucia can also include a church service and hymn singing. Like elsewhere in the West, Christmas in Sweden follows the Christian tradition, and Advent is central to the Swedish festive period and the countdown to Christmas Eve. However secular modern-day Sweden may be, these holidays are certainly welcomed by religious and non-religious Swedes alike. Secular Swedes. Not all Swedes are comfortable with the at times prominent cultural role of the church either, and many people pursue alternative forms of ritual. With marriages on the rise in Sweden, civil weddings now account for nearly a third of all marriage ceremonies. In addition, secular name-giving ceremonies for infants also exist, with the aim of celebrating the arrival of a new child without the religious overtones of a christening. Other big religions in Sweden. While membership of the Church of Sweden is declining, recent years have seen the membership of other churches and religions increase. It should be noted, however, that reported numbers on religious affiliations in Sweden are estimates only, since Swedish law forbids the registration of people on the basis of their religion. In addition, increased immigration has contributed to greater religious diversity. Islam is a growing religion and 5 mosques have so far been built in Sweden. The Catholic Church in Sweden also reports increased membership and cites immigrants as a primary source. Meanwhile, many country-specific Eastern Orthodox churches also exist, of which the Syrian Orthodox Church is the largest. From Nordic gods to Catholic converts, the beginning of the religious experience in Sweden is often traced back to the pre-Christian Norse religion. Norse beliefs formed the basis not for organized religion, but rather for an overarching cultural system. Central to the practice of Norse beliefs were rites, among them the ritual sacrifice of animals, and sometimes even humans. At these gatherings, food and drink were shared in communion with the gods, and omens for greater prosperity were sought. Odin and Thor, probably the most well-known Norse deities, were the gods responsible for the likes of war and the sky, respectively, and from Protestant preeminence to religious freedom. While Swedes may have become conscientious Catholics by the late Middle Ages, the country would later become known as a bastion of Protestantism. Sweden completed its transformation from Catholic to Protestant by the end of the 1500s. During the subsequent period, the state identified itself closely with the new Lutheran religion and punished deviation from state-sanctioned beliefs. Until 1858, conversion to Catholicism could be punished by exile. In the 1600s, Swedish King Gustav II Adolf even led Sweden to war in the 30 Years' War in Germany, ostensibly to defend the Protestant faith. Tolerance and cultural clashes. Although Sweden continues to rank as one of the most tolerant countries in the world, it also faces challenges from intolerance in terms of xenophobia and cultural clashes, just like many other countries. In 2013, for example, in response to cases of harassment of Muslim women in Sweden wearing the hijab veil, Swedish human rights and anti-racism activists donned veils of their own in a show of solidarity, but the activists themselves became the subject of criticism from, among others, feminists for stereotyping Muslim women or even supporting a symbol sometimes associated with the oppression of women. The Church of Sweden and women. In 2014, Ange Jacqueline became the first woman to hold the post of the Archbishop of Uppsala, who is the chief representative of the Church of Sweden both nationally and internationally. The Archbishop is also responsible for anointing new Swedish bishops. In 1960, the first women priests were inaugurated in the Church of Sweden. Today 45% of priests are women, and women make up the majority of those studying to become priests. Christianity and the Church may have maintained ritual and cultural importance in Sweden, but this has not prevented the country from becoming one of the world's most liberal societies. In some areas where religious and social conservatism often prevails, such as the right to abortion, no serious debate exists in Sweden. Living together and having children without being married is also socially acceptable.